Tech News Weekly is sponsored by Hover.com. Domain names made simple. Go to gfq.hover.com and get 10% off your entire purchase. And by Stitcher Radio. Listen on the go via the Stitcher mobile app. For more information, go to stitcher.com/GFQ.
Starting Tech News Weekly in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome everybody to Tech News Weekly. Quite an eventful week in technology. I'm Andrew Zarian. I'm joined by Sunkast, as I am each and every week. How you doing, Sunkast?
Hey, Andrew. How's it going?
Good. A little busy here today. I almost canceled the show, I'll be honest with you.
Sounds like you got a lot of chaos going on there, but then again, when don't you have chaos going on?
Yeah, well, the last 3 weeks.
It's you. Come on, man.
I think so. Well, the last 3 weeks.
You know, I had this thought earlier about 5 minutes ago. I'm like, either you're cursed or you have some really bad karma coming your way.
I think it's a combination of both, to be honest. Well, no, this one was my choice. We decided that we're going to redo the bathroom in my bedroom, in the master bedroom. We decided to do the bathroom in there, and it ended up becoming a much bigger project than expected because there was a leak and some of the beams are rotted. So now we got to change the beam, and I got a couple of workers here while the show's going on. The entire bedroom is covered in soot and dust, and the entire house.
Oh, that must be driving you crazy.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to ignore it as much as I can. If you guys watching notice, I am not wearing jeans, and that's a rare thing. I'm wearing sweatpants. So that just shows you how I've given up on this day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for you.
Yeah, you know how it is here, especially when you have to do a show and you have like 300 things happening and you got workers up and down. It's a crazy situation, but we got the show going. A lot happened this week, so we're going to be talking about a lot, and somebody's ringing the doorbell. So, Sunkast, why don't you go into the next story? Why don't you go into the first story? Yeah.
Oh, that means I have to find one. All right, well, let's talk about some of the stuff that happened this week. Obviously, Apple was a big story this week. They released the new iPad, and that's what they're calling it. They're not calling it the iPad HD or iPad 3. They're calling it the new iPad, which a lot of people seem to be a little bit upset about because they're like, well, why aren't they calling it something different? Why is it just the new iPad? But that seems to be what Apple wants to go with, and so now people are thinking, well, is it going to always be called the new iPad now? What happens when they release the iPad next year? Is it still going to be the new iPad? When is it not the new iPad anymore? It's just kind of like when you hear a new radio station and they call themselves the new whatever. And so now they're doing this with products too. So are they just going to make this more of a generic kind of thing where it's just the new iPad from now on?
Can I tell you something before I go into that story? And this is every time Tech News Weekly starts. I get these same guys that come to the door wanting to sell me new energy. Make me switch my energy company. It's every time I'm doing the show. And I'm
annoying.
Like, I gotta go. And the guy comes into the house.
I'd call the cops on him.
I'm like, listen, I don't have time for this. I'm like, do you understand I have to talk about the iPad? That's what I told him. They've rebranded it to the new. But I guess this is what they're going to do with their entire branding process. I don't think, and it makes sense. I mean, if you look at it,
do the new MacBook Pro.
Well, it's always the new MacBook Pro. If you ever realize that,
so
it's
then
always
are
the new
they just
MacBook.
falling in line with everything else?
Sure, yeah. The numbering thing is a bizarre thing. I mean, if you compare it to what everything else is, whenever there's a new MacBook that comes out, they don't number the MacBooks. You don't number the laptops. I don't think any other. I think some phones do it, but after a while, they have to stop because it gets ridiculous. What are you going to do? You're going to call it, the iPad 13?
The BlackBerry 9360.
Yeah,
the BlackBerry 9370.
The number thing I don't really like.
9390.
Yeah, but at least those make less sense than anything else. At least this goes in some sort of order. See, here's my issue with this. It's actually not an issue. I think it's a smart thing. The next iPhone that comes out will be the new iPhone. It's probably going to be that new design that we were expecting with this current iPhone that we got. So it kind of makes sense that they're going to the new iPhone or the new iPad. It's kind of weird because I would have imagined they would have done that with a new body, with a new overall new look.
Yeah.
But they didn't. And they're calling it the new iPad. I spoke to someone that got a chance to play with it, and they're saying that the display is mind-blowing. I mean, it's
Apple
nothing.
has always been great with displays. That's one
Yeah.
of their key things is they always have great displays.
Yeah, I mean, but this goes. I mean, you're talking about almost 300 DPI.
Yeah.
I mean, what is it? 268? That's 268 DPI.
264, I believe.
264. That's as close to a magazine as anybody has come
Yeah.
in these displays. So when you're looking at pictures, when you're looking at high-res images, it looks like you're looking at a magazine. I mean,
it's actually higher than HD.
yeah. Well, what's going to
Because
be
when you look at the
interesting-
resolution, it's a 2048 by 1536, which is actually a higher resolution than HD.
And it
full-on
does-
HD.
And it does make reading on these devices. A large complaint has been from the ebook population that wants to read on the iPad, and they really can't because it's not really intended for that. With this, it's so crisp, the lettering, you could see everything. I'll tell you, they do something different with the Galaxy Nexus, where the display, it's very high DPI. And you're able to see small font. You're able to see it, and it's quite clear on this. So just imagine what it's going to be on the iPad. What I'm interested in the most right now is, I'm not going to get this iPad. I'm skipping this iPad.
Well, you already have the iPad 2.
I got the iPad 2. It's good enough. I don't find a need to get the new one. But what I am interested in is what they're going to do with the Retina display in other products now. Is the MacBook Pro going to get a Retina display? Is the iMac going to get a Retina display? Is this potential Apple TV that they've been talking about going to get a Retina
really
display?
What makes it a Retina display? Is it just the resolution?
I think you know what it is. Technically, your eye can't see the pixels, the spacing between the pixels.
So it's actually the screen technology that they're using to create the display. It's
Yeah.
not necessarily the resolution.
I don't think it's necessarily the resolution. I don't think so. I mean, don't quote me on that, but I think it's the fact that they're calling it a Retina display because your eyes cannot see the space in between the pixels, or it's not supposed to.
I mean, there's a few different things between the iPad 2 and the new iPad, but all in all, I think it's largely the same product. I think the biggest thing with the new iPad is the resolution and the addition of 4G LTE.
Yeah, the 4G is going to be very important to many people. I mean, there's been times that I've had a meeting in the city, and I had to find a Starbucks to sit and use the Wi-Fi because I needed internet access. I'll see you guys. See you. Are you coming tomorrow? Yes. Okay, see you tomorrow. My guys are leaving me. Just had to make sure. So
professional.
Yeah, I'm very professional today. Today, you are not going to get anything utterly close to professional. Let me tell you, the shirt is a little too small, and my belly is riding up as I'm doing the show.
Oh, gosh.
So
that's too much
you guys are
information.
very lucky I'm not doing this shot for most of the show. But the Retina display, it's very interesting that they're doing it. Why isn't anybody else doing it? Now, that is the question. Why hasn't anybody else adapted this sort of high-resolution technology? And I think it was PC World that had an article, or it could have been PC Magazine. And they were saying how the reason why nobody else is doing it is A, because Apple's able to get all those deals, and B, Apple has bought most of them up. There's only one or two factories that are able to produce these high-pixel displays.
Well, that's how you know when Apple is starting to make a new product is that you'll see all these rumors saying, oh, such and such company just got an order for a ton of displays. So there must be a new Apple product coming.
Yeah, So I am dying to see what they do with the laptops. Now, that'll be very interesting, and that's a great way to get people to buy this new product. Let's say with the next version of OS 10 that comes out, they release a new MacBooks, which they do. They kind of coincide a couple months. And they put this Retina display on the laptop, which would be great. Very high resolution.
I think it's funny that everybody was wrong with the name. Nobody had the name whatsoever. They were calling it the iPad 3 or the iPad HD. I even saw it on the news. People were saying the iPad HD.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, no, that's not what they're calling it.
what do you think? And let's speculate on this a little bit. You know, we've discussed this Apple TV. I mean, there was an Apple TV announcement, but this mythical Apple TV that Steve Jobs has created that'll solve all our TV problems, right? This actual television that Apple wants to produce. We've heard the rumors for many, many years. In the Steve Jobs autobiography, autobiography, right? Yes.
I don't know.
Yes. In the Steve Jobs book, they my brain's not working today. Sorry, guys. They further went on to add to all the rumors by Steve Jobs saying he's cracked it. Now, we don't know what that means. But if they were to release a TV, and people's points have been, well, why would you buy an Apple TV?
Do they need an Apple TV?
Do you need an Apple TV? The
pricing. They have basically this set-top box.
Well, now after seeing this Retina display, at first I said no, they don't need an Apple TV, but now I say yes, they do, and they will sell tons of these. And I'll tell you why. If they add a Retina display to a 42-inch monitor, and it's this Apple TV branded, monitor, and it's maybe $1,200-$1,300. I don't know what the pricing is, so I'm not going to go there. But that would get the enthusiasts and many people to buy it because of the clarity of the display. Nobody else is able to match.
I'm not crazy about it like you are. I don't think it would sell as much as you're talking about. I mean, if you look at the history,
I think. Listen, if anything is going to sell that display, that would be it. That would be the selling point.
They've always been known for great displays, and you've never seen people out en masse buying Apple displays. One part of that is because
pricing.
They are so expensive.
Yeah, you're looking at $1,000 for like a 27-inch display. That's the problem.
Most people cannot afford something like that. If you're going to do a TV, how much more expensive is that TV going to be? Are you going to add $1,000 onto the cost of that TV because it has?
Well, Steve Wozniak came out last week, and listen, who knows what he knows? I mean, I doubt he knows anything at this point. He's really not really involved with day-to-day. But he said Apple's fully capable of producing a beautiful display for $1,500. So it might be a realistic thing to see this Apple TV with a high quality, high pixel density Retina display. It could really change the way the TVs are perceived, and people would go out and buy this. It might create another HD revolution for many people. I mean, you got to remember, I'm one of those people. I went and got an HD TV in 2002. I bought a 46-inch Hitachi. I spent $7,000 on this thing. Now, I'm not saying.
Crazy.
Yeah, but that was the time. Imagine, and if I did it, there were many people doing it at the time. Apple could take have a nice little percentage of the market share and put you in that iOS environment.
Well, sure, but it's one of those markets. Right now with the HDTV stuff, people are all about internet connectivity on it.
Yeah. But since we are on the Apple TV, do you want to go through the specs for the iPad before I go into Apple TV, or do you want to go into Apple TV?
It's up to you. You're the Apple guy.
I guess we could talk about it. We kind of discussed it as much as we could on the launch date, but it's a little thicker. Very interesting. The display 248 by 1536, which is double the resolution. It's running a
I'll give you my two other notables for the specs for this. The first one the quad core graphics. I think that's a big deal. And the other thing is
quad core graphics still with the dual core processor. So a lot of people were reporting, and I saw mainstream media say, well, it's a quad core processor. Well, no, it's a quad core graphics chip. It's not a quad core CPU.
That's why they say quad core graphics.
Yeah.
They don't say quad core processor. That would be totally incorrect. But they also have a new 64 gigabyte model, which I think is a big deal because we haven't seen that in the past.
Yeah. One important thing is that the iPad 2 is now going to be $399. It's $100 less, and I guarantee you, within the next couple of months, we'll be seeing this thing for $249, $349 possibly.
People will still buy it too.
Yeah, possibly $299. I mean, those rebates are going to be there, and you know what? For $299, if they could sell this thing for $299, it would be a huge seller. People will go out and buy this for $299. Front the camera display, still nothing to write home about. 640 by 480, still it's an awful thing. Rear camera is a 5 megapixel camera. Does this make sense? Rear camera 0.7 megapixel? Is that true? For the old one?
I don't know.
That's what it says, but I can't imagine that to be true. Might be a mistake. It has 4G, so whatever. It's a little thicker. Pretty much it's the same overall look. The battery life, now this was interesting. The iPad 2 was 25 watt. It was a 25 watt hour lithium polymer. Now it's a 42.
You have a lot of trouble with that word.
Polymer?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why. All right, so now it's a 42.5 watt hour lithium polymer. So the battery life, it's of course it's a little larger because it has to push
and that
out
was
the
one
display.
of the things that people were wondering about was whether or not if it was going to be 4G LTE, how is the battery life going to be on that? Because Apple hasn't done 4G LTE before.
You know what's fascinating? If it was any other company, would you have imagined that the press would have said, well, it's fine if it doesn't have 4G? No. The press was saying, oh, no, it's okay if it doesn't have 4G. We understand, Apple. It's just interesting how it's skewed.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah. Imagine if, let's say, well, I was going to use BlackBerry as an example, but they're dead. They're neck deep.
Nobody
in
cares
water.
about BlackBerry.
Yeah. Let's say Google. Let's say they had the Google branded tablet come out, and it didn't have 4G. Or let's say Microsoft released their Windows tablet, their go-to Windows tablet, and it didn't have 4G. The press would be like, "Oh, look at this! It was this is a mistake from the beginning. It doesn't have it." But if Apple does it, it's okay. So I do want to talk about Apple TV, and then I want to stop about the Apple stuff because I know a lot of people aren't into it. But Apple TV was refreshed. Now it has 1080p.
Refreshed is a very strong word, I think.
It was a refresh. I mean, it's not a new version. $99, you get 1080p. It's a single-core A5 opposed to the A4.
Well, when you look at the specs side by side, you can see why there's no way they could charge any more than the previous model.
No, you know what? If this thing was $79, I think it would sell
look.
much
Basically,
better.
all they did was they added 1080p.
And now
that's basically what they did.
Yeah, and the UI is a little different, and now you have app
you
style.
have movies with it, but that doesn't. When you look at the specs of the device itself, it's practically the same. The only thing that's different is the fact that it actually supports 1080p and it has an A5 chip in it. Those are the only differences. Everything else is exactly the same.
Yeah. But that was it with that. I mean, it wasn't this big announcement. One thing I do want to talk about is Google rebranding the marketplace, the Android market, as Google Play.
Yes.
We were talking about this last week, and people were saying, well, is this the name of the 7-inch tablet that they're releasing? And I said pretty much, I was like, no, I don't think so. I think they're just going to rebrand Google Music.
I was surprised that they actually came out and said what it was so quickly.
Yeah, so, and they've rebranded it. I mean, if you go to the Android marketplace, if you search the Android, let me just marketplace, it says Google Play now.
Yes.
A stupid name, in
it
my
actually
opinion.
even changes the icon for you, too.
Yeah, the logo's even different. But I think it's a dumb name, because what are you playing? They're apps. Do you play apps?
You play games.
You play games. You don't play apps.
No, not really.
Yeah, so I'm going to see if I could pull up the screen here. But it's all rebranded.
That's part of the reason why I think they wanted to rebrand it, because the market, part of it was that the Android market has a lot of negative publicity that goes along with it because it has been so fragmented and whatnot. And I think because it has evolved over the years since they introduced the Android market, that they've started to include TV shows, music, movies, videos, and such as that. Does it still make sense to call it Android market?
Well, the point was that they were saying, well, we can't call it an Android market because it's more than Android. Well, okay, fine. Then why not just call it Google market?
Yeah.
Does Google Play go, is it a better name? I don't.
Probably according to the focus groups that they use for it,
yeah,
yes.
I'll tell you, these focus groups are dumb. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the name, but they have a big rebranding going on.
Of the name either. It's like, whatever.
I mean, it's a massive rebranding.
Everything is an app store to me,
Yeah, well, they can. Unfortunately, they can't call it an app store. But they're rebranding a lot of their stuff now to Google Play, and it's going to start going to the phones. I don't know if the phones are still doing it. Let me just go to my phone and see what it says. No, I think it still says market.
Some of the phones have been updating. There was an issue with the Motorola Droid Racer. People were saying that there was some sort of issue where it broke the icon and it didn't work anymore.
Yeah, no, mine still says market. It's not really shown an icon. Yeah.
It might be something that they're rolling out gradually. I know if you open it up, I think it does say Google Play.
Yeah. AT&T urging customers to upgrade to 3G, possibly killing off 2G. I guess they're gonna kill off the Edge network, huh?
Good for them.
I think it's about time. Now, what does this mean for T-Mobile? Because T-Mobile, you could still use Edge.
Yes.
What's going to happen to all those people?
I have a BlackBerry, so I need Edge.
Yeah, you have a BlackBerry. So what'll happen with them? I mean, can you upgrade to 3G or no?
Oh yeah, I can. Yeah, they have 3G and they have some high-speed networks as well. That's faster than 3G, but not really 4G.
HSPA.
Yes.
So AT&T is pretty much urging people. So slowly they're going to phase out the technology. It's a good step because it's about how many years old is Edge at this point? Quite a few years old.
Well, they had 3G back in 2007, 2006.
I'll tell you, they had 3G in 2004.
Yeah.
I had a phone. It was a 3G phone in 2004.
Because when I got my BlackBerry in 2007, that's one of the things I was debating, 2G or 3G. And I was like, whatever.
I remember, and this is going back, I remember in 2002, I bought a phone and it had the 3G logo on it. So that's how long ago this was going.
Speaking of that.
Yeah.
That's another thing that Apple did that we didn't necessarily discuss is that they released iOS 5.1. And with that update, what they've done is that they've rebranded the 3G icon as 4G. So even though if you're using the AT&T's HSPA network, it'll say 4G, even though it's not really.
Even though it's not. Okay, so
LTE
what
network.
about?
So people are going to be misled to think they're actually on the new LTE 4G network that AT&T has because they're probably not going to be smart enough to know the difference.
What
They're
about?
Gonna probably think, oh, this update made me get 4G. That's cool.
Yeah, but what about Verizon now? Are they rebranded as well?
No, just AT&T.
Just AT&T. So if you're on the HSPA, no. Well, I guess that's how they. That's interesting. Why would they do that? Why would they? Because it's not really 4G, but it's faster than 3G.
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess that's why they did that. You want to go into a story?
Well, we were just talking about the Edge and 2G stuff.
Yeah.
I think there was another AT&T story in here, wasn't there?
Yes.
Well,
another one, because this is very interesting. It was during the iPad announcement. It was released that you're going to be able to tether with this thing. It's going to be a mobile hotspot
stuff,
which is great. I think that's a really awesome thing because if you have your iPad and you have 4G, pretty much you up to 5.
Unless of course you're an AT&T user.
And I'm really surprised that AT&T is the one who said no.
Yeah, you know what?
I could see this from
Verizon
Verizon.
says right off the bat when they start selling the new iPad, they're going to offer a hotspot. Of course, it'll probably cost a little bit more money, but AT&T right off the bat when they get the new iPad, they're not going to offer hotspot, which I don't understand why, because I'm sure they could jack up the price and make more money by offering something like that.
It comes down to their 4G infrastructure. I don't think their 4G infrastructure is as big as Verizon's or as good as Verizon's.
But still, wouldn't you want to offer it and collect the money regardless?
Yeah, or they're fearing.
AT&T is one of those companies where they'll do anything to make another buck or two off you.
Yeah, that's why I was very surprised when I heard that Verizon is the one that's offering it and not AT&T. I would imagine it to be the other way because Verizon does not embrace
Why do you think
embrace
it's
tethering.
the fact that AT&T's network can't handle the capacity?
That could be it. That could really be it.
I think it's very strange that they're not going to offer it. They could down the road offer it, but it's not clear why they're not offering it right away.
Yeah, because their network can't handle it. I mean, obviously that has to be the reason why they wouldn't offer it. Why would they let Verizon get the advantage with this? For many people, that
is something that AT&T has been struggling with is that they feel their main competition is Verizon, and they've been in this battle for spectrum, and AT&T says, oh, we're losing out to Verizon because the FCC has a sweet spot for Verizon, and they're being mean to us. They're not letting us acquire spectrum like they are with Verizon. They're so much larger than us.
Well, the problem is with AT&T is that you're still remembering what they did in the 1980s. I mean, for many people, that still exists for them. So when you
Well, it's
think
not
of
only
AT&T
that, but
getting
they treat
larger,
their customers like crap, and they changed prices all the time.
yeah, and also look at it this way: there is other CDMA companies. As my dog just knocked over my camera, there are
Jeez.
other CDMA companies.
Yes.
There would be only one GSM remaining in the United States. So that I mean, why that's probably the reason why they're not letting them take it. I mean, they got Singular, right? They didn't give them a hard time with that. I mean, they might have a little bit, but they approved that merger.
Yeah.
The Netflix story is very interesting. And I do want to go into that next, but I do want to talk about a sponsor, hover.com, before I do. Domain names made simple. If you are like me and you buy a lot of domain names, or you're buying your first one, or you're buying it for someone else. Kunal from our show, the Andrew Zarian Show, bought a domain name for Tim. He bought timdillon.tv from Hover, and he said it was very easy. It took him about 3 minutes to buy the domain name. But the reason why I stick with Hover is because I have over 200 domain names, and they make it extremely easy for me to purchase a domain name, leave, and get my discount, which is GFQ upon checkout, or you can go to gfq.hover.com and get 10% off that way. But the other thing is the customer service is phenomenal. There's no hold times. They're always willing to help you, and they won't try to upsell you with things. I mean, I was just on the phone with those other guys for an issue, which Sunkast.
Yep.
And the guy wouldn't let me off the phone because he was trying to get me to update domain names and trying to get me to get a new package and trying to get me to add private registration, which is included with Hover. So their whole thing is selling. Hover's whole thing is taking care of their customer base, which is excellent in my book. And that's why I stick with Hover, and that's why you should try them out too. If you go to gfq.hover.com, you get 10% off your entire purchase, or you could use promo code GFQ upon checkout. Hover.com. Domain names made simple. Do you want to go into the Netflix story? Because this is very interesting, what this can mean to possible
Well, there's a couple of stories here that are very similar.
Yeah.
The Netflix one and the Amazon one.
Okay, go into the Netflix.
All right, so Netflix is now in talks to partner up with cable companies to offer Netflix as a service with your cable service, which is going to be really interesting. Are you fixing your camera? Is that what you're doing?
Yes.
Okay, so that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting the fact that they're looking to actually become a part of the cable companies. What will happen is, what they're saying could happen is that they'll offer Netflix as part of your cable, and you may just be billed separately on your bill. It'll end up as another line item as it.
But guess
And
what?
that's the way they'll offer Netflix to you, and that'll also help in the sense that whatever bandwidth you're using to see Netflix now won't actually count against your data.
Yes, and here's why I think this might not be a good thing.
Why is that?
This is more of a reason to do bandwidth caps. Because now they're going to turn around. If, let's say, Time Warner Cable and Comcast, they all strike a deal with Netflix. And you pay, everything goes through the cable company. Because actually, Netflix is kind of in a weird position where they got so much negative press that there are stories that they might want to sell, and they're struggling, which I think they'll rebound from this. If they sign a deal with, let's say, Comcast, AT&T, and whatever, it might be more of a reason for Comcast to cap you, and they're going to say, well, look, if you're watching film legitimately through Netflix, you won't hit your cap. As a Comcast user, Sunkast, I mean, is that something you would welcome?
How is that any different than any other video service that's on the internet that might be legitimate, such as Hulu?
Well, that's the thing, though. They're probably going to...
Or Amazon Instant
But this
Watch.
is how it slowly happens, right? They start having select partnerships and saying, and this is what we spoke about the other week. They're going to have select partnerships with these companies and say, you know what, if you use Hulu, if you use Netflix, if you use Amazon, don't worry, you're not capped, but everything else you're going to be capped.
Yeah.
So what do you think of you? Are you for this?
I'm kind of for it because I think it's somewhat, there is a promise that it'll actually be discounted because it is through the cable. And I like the idea of that. It's going to be integrated into the cable boxes.
Yeah, that's
so
a pretty
become
cool
even
thing.
easier to use. Yes, you can get TVs that integrate all this Wi-Fi stuff now, but truthfully, it doesn't work all that well. Any of these internet-ready TVs, I don't think are all that great. They're not all that great as they've hyped it up to be. I
No.
really don't think they're very good.
No,
So
it's
I think
sluggish.
the
The UI
offer-
is sluggish. I mean, you also have to remember, if you're buying a Toshiba TV and you're buying a Samsung TV, the UI is not going to be great. It's not going to be something that you're getting, let's say, from an Apple TV or a Google TV.
Mm,
I think
I don't
that
know.
goes into.
I'm
play
not
too.
against it. I don't see them doing what you're saying because it doesn't make sense to me. There would be such a backlash from internet users if they try to do anything like that because of this whole net neutrality thing that they're trying to do.
Yeah.
People would be so upset if they did anything like that.
Yeah, but 3 years ago, remember that viral image that was going around with like tiered packaging? So it was like the Netflix and movie package was like $5, and then if you wanted the gaming package, it was another $5. I mean, this is a different way of doing it and kind of going at it in that
Yeah,
direction
but
where they're saying
that never panned out either.
no.
I see differences between the two.
Okay, so one example is Fios is teaming up with Redbox. And they're
Yeah.
going to be doing this. So I guess this is Comcast's way or RCN or whoever's
They're not
way.
saying who they've been talking to. They just said a number of cable companies. It could be Time Warner. It could be AT&T.
Well, you know what? Unfortunately, there's not many of them.
No.
There's only there's Uverse, there's Comcast, there's Time Warner, there's Comcast is Xfinity, right? Same
Yes.
company. So there's not really, and Verizon, there's not much left. RCN and maybe a couple smaller
I don't see
ones.
this as a bad deal, quite honestly.
So you would welcome something like this where they're saying, okay, listen, Hulu and Netflix wouldn't, if you pay through us, it wouldn't go against your data usage.
I like Netflix better than Comcast on demand. So
Yeah. I don't know. I would love to know what the audience thinks. Send us an email. If you're listening in the podcast or you're listening live, send us an email, guysfromqueens@gmail.com. I would love to know what you guys are thinking because I'm not capped. So my perception of this is a little different. I have Verizon Fios, and they don't really cap us. They don't throttle us, and we have very high speeds. What is it like for someone that has Comcast and has to deal with caps? I know someone, and I've told the story a couple times. I know someone that I know one guy that got it through Time Warner, but I know another guy that out on the island he had Comcast, and they capped him, and he violated it again, and they killed his bandwidth down to like 2 kilobits, like 56K speeds, 5 kilobits, and he also had VoIP service, and it killed his VoIP service as well. And they're not allowed to do that really anymore.
I think the times have really changed in the sense that there's all this content on the internet now, and it is high quality content. And in order to do this high quality content, you need bandwidth. And I don't think internet providers, and you do have Comcast that provides internet. AT&T provides internet. So what's the difference?
Yeah,
It's gonna come out of their bandwidth bucket anyway.
But what if they turn around, Sunkast, and then we'll move on because we could speculate on this. I'll give you an example. Comcast turns around and is like, okay, listen, if you want to watch movies through these sites, it won't go towards your cap.
What you're saying is I see as something that would be completely outlandish. That's an AT&T douche move right there.
But listen, that's what AT&T wants to do, right? And I think that's what a lot of these guys would love to do. They would love to get money.
Love to do it. The question is, how much of a backlash are they going to get from that? We've seen Netflix get backlash for doing similar things.
Here's the scary thing, Sunkast. I don't think people understand what's happening. I mean, that Time Warner thing that we discussed last week, they would deduct $5 from your bill in order for you, and you would save $5 and you would only get 5 gigs.
But that's because we live
usage.
in a world where internet is readily available and nobody watches how much bandwidth they
nobody
use.
knows. They don't know what bandwidth is.
Content they want.
No, they don't know what bandwidth is. They don't know what speeds are. They don't know if guarantee you go up to a random person and you say, "What are your internet speeds?" They're gonna be like, "I don't know, high speed." They're gonna say broadband.
But can you make customers into the victim because they don't know that?
They are the victim because
That's
they're taking
unfair.
advantage. No, but they're taking advantage of them. I guarantee you, many people are going to sign up for this stupid thing if they do
That's the same thing as credit card companies entering stuff into the fine print that's so hard to read and so hard to understand because of the legalese that you don't know what's going to happen when you sign up for a credit card.
But they still do it. That's the
same deal.
It is the same deal, and they still do it. It's our job to be educated. It's the consumer's job to be educated. And they're not. Now everything else is broken. There we go. Thank you. Thank you for letting me. The video was broken. I fixed it. Thank you. You want to go into the Amazon one?
Yeah, Amazon is somewhat of a similar story because what they're doing is they're trying to do what Hulu and Netflix are now doing in the sense that they're creating TV shows and original content. What happened is that an Amazon executive posted on his LinkedIn account that he was currently the vice president of original television at Amazon. And that quickly got taken down and changed. So now the speculation begins, well, is that what Amazon is doing? Are they starting an original television division where they can create TV shows and original content?
Well, I think before they start going for original content, maybe they should get their Amazon, their Amazon movie rental service organized rather than confusing. It's a very confusing layout, and it's extremely confusing for anybody with an Amazon Prime account. And if anybody has a Prime account, they would understand where if you have a Prime account, the idea is that, well, for $99 you get the Prime account, you also get to watch Amazon Prime streaming movies or television shows. Yes, but it's limited. It's only certain shows, and the ones that you really want to watch, you got to pay per episode. Yeah. Much like how iTunes is.
Yeah.
And I think that's such a weird model that they're doing because it's kind of confusing you, and you feel kind of gypped. You're like, well, I paid this money, I'm getting $99. It is a little misleading. It's a little confusing. So they need to clear that up before they go to original content. Just because Hulu and Netflix are doing it doesn't mean that it's right for Amazon. And
so
Amazon,
you don't think that they still need to stay in the game and do something? Do you think they're going to be... Because the question is, well, if they don't do this now, are they going to be left behind when, these companies get more original content and Amazon has nothing?
Listen, there's so much original content on the web. It's mind-blowing how much great stuff is on the internet. Does that mean they should start buying it up? I mean, look at YouTube. YouTube has really gotten aggressive with the original content.
I would disagree with that. No. I don't think YouTube has handled their original content very well whatsoever.
Well, they're still building it. That's the thing. They're still building it, but they have original content partners now which do it.
Well, part of their whole deal with YouTube was that they were going to do this live streaming thing, and that was a year ago.
Yeah.
A year ago, and they said they were going to start rolling it out and gradually to YouTube partners, and here we are a year later, and who actually has this?
TV stations, really. A lot of TV stations, but the reason why we don't have it, I'll tell you why, is because we have ads.
We're a YouTube partner.
But we have ads. They don't want ads. If you have your own ads, they don't want that. They just want YouTube ads. But I don't understand how that's working because they have, some station in the Middle East that has commercials airing.
The original content that YouTube does, I don't think is any good.
No, it's awful.
Honestly.
It's awful.
I think it's stupid.
No. It's absolutely awful, really. There's really not much there. Very interesting, though, what they're trying to do. And the quality's not great either, which I'm surprised.
Yeah, one of the other stories that we have on the list here I think is kind of really interesting because I know you and Paul have been going back and forth on this a couple of times, is that Microsoft is now saying that this online desktop may actually violate their licensing agreements. Yeah, I know that you and Paul were talking about this before and questioning whether or not this is actually legal.
He said yes. I said, well, it might not be once they add Internet Explorer, once they roll it out into a full-fledged computer. It was limited. Mary Jo Foley from CNET, from ZDNet, actually, I should say, posted this article this morning, and it was very interesting. Turns out that they may be in violation with the licensing agreement, and Microsoft really wasn't going to go after them until their other partners started complaining about it, saying, well, we're paying this much in licensing. These guys don't have to.
Well, this is really interesting because it doesn't sound like Microsoft is even sure whether or not this violates the agreement and license agreement.
Yeah, because you still can't use it as a full-fledged computer.
Right. This is an area where nobody's done this before, so they don't know whether or not this is legal or not.
I think for now they're probably going to resolve it or come to some sort of terms, but the goal eventually with OnLive is that it's going to be your own virtual computer in the cloud. So you could take any device and log into this account eventually, and it'll be yours. It's over there in the server world.
Right.
I think once they do that, yes, they will probably be in violation, or they're going to have to renegotiate whatever licensing agreement that they had.
But they are saying that they were using volume licensees, so I don't understand what the problem is. If they're already paying for the license for these Windows machines, where's the problem?
Yeah, but it's a different type of license from
it's
what
a
I
volume
read.
license.
It's a volume license, but how many people per computer?
I don't know.
I think that might be the violation there. It's how many users per computer.
You may be right on that one.
I think that might be the issue. You know, how many?
Again, I mean, this is one of those areas. Like I said, it's Microsoft doesn't even know whether or not this exactly violates the licensing agreements, because right now it's that they're not saying that they're not shutting them down or anything like that. They are talking to them and saying, all right, well, let's see if we can come to some sort of agreement and figure something out here.
Yeah, and I thought this was going to happen. I mean, you look at other virtual, virtual login, I guess, softwares, which I guess would be kind of like that. But they are doing it on a much larger scale, but they're still not offering a full-fledged computer. So really, you're not getting a computer. You're getting IE now for a monthly rate, and you're getting Simple Office. Right. You're not getting a lot of stuff yet. But I think eventually they're going to go and become a full-fledged computer, which I would love. And I would love to run, Windows 8 on this thing. You get an iPad and you're running Windows 8. That would be really cool.
It would be.
Yeah. So I'm really curious to see how that goes. But the licensing stuff was very interesting. Google reportedly considering to sell off Motorola set-top box business. I'm very disappointed in that because I really thought, really thought Google was going to go aggressive with them. Because if you remember, prior to CES, Eric Schmidt came out and said, Google TV will be in every TV. Do you remember that? Or majority of TV,
he
something.
said something like that, but then he didn't really say exactly how they were planning to do that.
I speculated, well, what they're probably going to do, and this is brilliant, they're going to sign a lot of deals with Samsung and possibly LG, and they're going to put it in the top TVs. And then for the cable providers, if you don't have it in your TV, your Motorola mobility box, your Motorola cable box, which many people have. It's only 2 cable boxes at this point. 2 or 3, but mostly it's Motorola and I think Scientific whatever. They'll put Google TV on there, on the new boxes. So everybody will have Google TV.
Well, one of the things that kind of changed that is that when Google started to buy Motorola Mobility, is that the sales of the set-top boxes started to go downhill. And so now companies aren't buying them. They don't want to buy them because it's Google.
Is that what they said?
That's what the article says.
So they shunned, I guess they shunned the Motorola boxes.
Yeah.
That's
I'm trying
weird.
to find the exact sentence it says. I don't see it in this paragraph, though.
But why? I mean, I guess because they have bad deals with Google.
Google is highly likely to sell off the division, at least partly because cable operators have shunned buying Motorola set-top boxes ahead of the acquisition.
That's bizarre. I mean,
So
listen, they're all crap.
To,
I mean, here's the thing, though.
Go about and do what you want when nobody wants to buy it.
So I guess your cable box, what is it? Is it Motorola or is it Scientific Atlantic?
I believe it is Motorola.
I mean, they're all crap. I mean, you look at Scientific Atlantic and you look at Motorola and you look at the Samsung boxes, they're all garbage. So you're really not getting anything more than the other one. So it makes no difference, really.
I would agree with that.
But I
don't
really
think any
thought
of the cable boxes are all that great. I don't think there's anything special about them. It's, we've gotten to that age where, well, what's so cool about them? What's so special about them? They do what they do, We're at that point where can we advance these set-top boxes?
Yeah. No, I really thought they were going to start pushing the Google TV on there.
I think that would have been great.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. Verizon officially dishes out ice cream sandwich to more than 12 devices, and then we'll go into our picks of the week. At last, Verizon is going to give us a taste of ice cream sandwich. Updates are coming from Google and the manufacturers. Here's the full list of current companies, current phones getting it. The HTC Thunderbolt, the Droid 2 Incredible 2, the HTC Rhythm, the HTC Resound, the LG Spectrum, Motorola Droid Bionic, the Droid Razr, the Droid Razr Max, the Droid 4, the Zoom, the Motorola Zoom, XOOM, the Motorola Droid Xboard. Is that what it is? Xboard, XY Board 8.2, Motorola Droid Zyborg. Okay.
I don't know.
Zyborg 10.1, the Samsung Galaxy Tab 7.7, Samsung Galaxy Tab 10.1. That is currently what is scheduled. Verizon hasn't shared the schedule yet, mind you, but since they aren't any dates corresponding to the devices, who knows when they will get it. I'll give you a perfect example. There's been 2 updates so far for the Galaxy Nexus, and my phone has not received them yet, which is bizarre. I mean, there were two updates. I think it was a small release, and the other one is supposed to be a large release, and we have not received it yet here. They're very slow on these updates. They really, really are. They have to do something.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, they list all these devices that they plan on dishing it out to, but then again, by the time they do that, no one's going to have these devices.
Yeah, wow, these devices are great. When am I getting it? I don't know.
It's going to take them so long that half the devices on there are going to be discontinued by the time they start rolling it out, and the other half people aren't even going to own anymore because there's new phones.
I don't know what's going on here.
I think it's funny in the sense that they say this is the problem with Android and updates and carriers in general, is that they have updates, and unlike Apple, they don't push it directly. They let the carriers muddle around and decide whether or not they want to do this. They have to do all their testing, and it just takes them forever to go through this stuff. It just becomes too much. You're better out going and buying a new Android phone than waiting around for the update to roll out to your phone.
Yeah, no, sure. Yeah. No, it's totally backwards. Totally
I think this
backwards.
is one of the reasons why you do see such a huge community of people that build custom ROMs and whatnot for Android out there, is because it takes carriers and manufacturers so long to roll out these updates that it's easier if you have the know-how to install a custom ROM that has modification tweaks and the latest updates already applied to them.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Why don't we do our picks of the week? Again, it's a little shorter show because the Behind the Counter guys have to be in here at 6. Rich has a gig tonight. He's performing with his band, and he needs to be done by 7 o'clock. So I want to do our picks of the week, and then we could get out of here, and then Sunkast could go and start editing some of the shows.
Yep.
Right? Is that how it works?
Pretty much.
Let's see. Sunkast, you want to go first?
Yeah, are you able to pull up the website at all?
Oh, is that what you want me to pull up the website?
I'm just asking if you can.
Yeah, I can. You want me to?
If you can, that would be great.
Yeah.
And then if you could also click on the lower right screenshot, that'll actually make it bigger.
Sure. Here you go.
All right, so my pick this week is an application from Stardock. It's called Start 8. Windows 8 released their consumer preview recently, and a lot of people were kind of upset that there's actually no start button anymore, or start orb with Windows 8 now. They've removed that, and it's been replaced by the Metro start screen. So anytime you press the Windows key, it actually goes to the start screen. Not everybody likes this feature. I don't like it myself, and there's a few replacements out there that'll bring up like a Windows 7-like menu, but Start 8 is actually the only one that I found that actually brings up the Metro user interface as a start menu and restores the start orb when you're in the desktop mode of Windows 8. And I like this a lot better than the other ones out there. I think it works better. I think it looks better. It's kind of what I feel desktop mode should have been in Windows 8. I don't understand why Microsoft couldn't have done what Start 8 does. What it does is that when you actually hit the Windows key, it'll bring up the same sort of start screen that you see, only as a menu. It's pretty cool. It actually has a few add-ons with it as well. You can enable quick access so that you can search your installed applications. It actually adds a run option when you right-click on the start orb, and also a shutdown, which is another one of the complaints that a lot of people have is, well, it's so hard to shut it down because there's so many clicks. It's in such a weird area. And that's what I like about Start 8 as well, is that it adds the run and shutdown option via right-click. Another cool thing about this is that you can actually choose the icon that you get for the start orb. If you don't like the orb, you can change it to something else. If you'd rather prefer like the new Windows 8 icon that they have,
Oh,
you can actually
really?
change the start button image to the new Windows 8 logo.
That's really cool.
It's free right now, and it's still in beta, so it's not exactly perfect. If you want it, you can go to stardock.com and sign up, or search Google for Start 8 download.
Very cool. Excellent. That's actually a really good pick, and I'm going to download it as soon as I'm done with the show. My pick this week is a game for the iPad. I know a lot of people are excited about the iPad, and my pick is for the iPad. It is called iBomber Pack for Pacific. I'm a big tower defense guy. Love tower defense games. And I played, what was the last one I suggested? Do you remember that? It was Kingdom Rush. And this is a little different. You are it's like war, you know? It's World War II or whatever war. It's in the Pacific, so I'm assuming that's what it is. And you are fighting the bad guys. And here's a little preview of what it looks like. So it's a simple tower defense game. You build your towers. You shoot the enemies. You upgrade your weapons. Very, very cool game. I love these games. I don't know. Do you like tower defense games?
Yeah, I don't like games, period.
You don't like anything.
I'm not a gamer. I can't get it with any of these games. They don't do anything for me.
See, it's very simple, and that's why I like them. They're very, very simple tower defense games, and I love tower defense games. And this is one of the good ones that I found. There's a lot of tower defense games for the iPad and iOS and Android, but they're just not that good. It's very messy. It's not. The experience isn't that great. With this game, it's one of the good ones actually, and I highly recommend it. It's called iBomber. It's in the App Store. I believe it's on. I believe it's on Android as well. I'm not too sure. Somebody just told me it's on Android. So if it is, it is. If it's not, it's on iOS. So and that's my pick of the week.
Cool.
Guys, thank you for joining us. Behind the Counter's up next. I want to recommend the show. It's a very good show. It's about comic books. It's about geeky stuff, and many of our viewers will like it. Also, if you miss any portion of any of our shows, you can go to gfqnetwork.com and catch our shows there. We archive everything within 24 hours, unless there's a problem. Then there's a little delay. But most of the time, we're up within 24 hours, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so 24 hours. Also, check out Sunkast's website, Amadeus. Spell it, Sunkast?
AMADAIS.com.
Yeah, where he highlights up-and-coming musicians that do cover songs. Almost every couple days, he has a new one up there. Really, really good site. And if you have any suggestions, send them right over because he'll put them on the website. Until next time, see you next week. Good night, everybody.